guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sam. It's really good to see you here. Okay, so 2025 fashion predictions, or like trend predictions, have been kind of hard to pinpoint this year. I don't know if it's just me or if everybody's kind of feeling this, but I feel like everybody's kind of splitting off into their own personal style bubbles, which, don't get me wrong, is fantastic. But it makes it kind of hard for me to analyze what the upcoming trends might be, because a lot of what I'm seeing really just fits into like my personal style. I can make a video that pertains to just my personal style if that would be interesting to you guys, but I really wanted to see if there was like an overarching trend prediction that I was missing. I know that fashion magazines and publications and things like that will put out like a trend guide, but I feel like those are more just like ways for them to sell you things. So I thought I would take it to my good old friend ChatGPT and ask AI what they think will be trending in 2025. So I asked AI to give me their fashion trend predictions for 2025 based on what's currently in, what we've been seeing on the runways, and just the way that fashion trends kind of move these days. I asked for it to look at how cyclical fashion comes back into trend and how what we're seeing these days might impact that. So we'll go ahead and see what AI has to say. I'm kind of expecting some of these to be like way off base just because how could a computer know about fashion? But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we'll find that AI is like right on point. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about 2025 fashion trends. So its first prediction is statement outerwear. I asked for it to justify the trends as well. So we'll have a what and a why. And the why for this one is, they say, with comfort and practicality prioritized, outerwear is becoming a statement piece. Runway emphasizes bold coat. Hold on. They say runway emphasis on bold coats highlights their potential as a focal point in colder months. So I guess what they're trying to say is that we saw a lot of bold coats on the runway this season. Okay. I know I personally love a statement outerwear piece. But I do kind of think that since we're moving away from that clean girl aesthetic and moving into more of a personal style era, maybe that'll show in our outerwear as well. Maybe that's what they're trying to get at. So we'll see if we see more of this out in the wild. I really hope this is true, actually, because I personally am such a hater on everybody wearing a black puffer coat in the cold. I think it's so boring and so uninspired, and it makes me feel weird then to wear a statement outerwear piece because I know that everybody's just going to show up in their Canada Goose black puffer jacket. Not that everybody has Canada Goose on, but like that's kind of the mold. Or like a North Face. Nothing against North Face, but let's be a little bit more creative, people. If we're listening to AI, then we will be. So our next AI trend prediction is elevated basics. They say classic staples like t-shirts, blazers, and trousers with intricate details, i.e. ruching, asymmetry, or textured fabrics. Maybe I can see what they mean where it's like, because we're moving into that personal style thing, everybody kind of wants to like create personality within things that used to just be standard basic. You know, I think this one might be kind of on point. I think that while it's really easy to say that elevated basics are trending, because when are they not really trending? I do think that we are kind of moving into that, like, we want a staple wardrobe, we want our things to be practical and functional, but we also want them to have a little bit of a personality. So I think that elevated basics might actually be something that we see a lot of in 2025. So I do kind of think that this one is a good trend prediction. I do think it's a little bit of a cop-out because elevated basics are kind of always trending. You know what I mean? The next thing that AI says will be trending in 2025 is metallics and shiny fabrics. They say high shine fabrics, liquid-like textures, and metallic finishes will trend in 2025. Their reasoning for this is futuristic aesthetics tied to Y2K and tech influences continue to trend. Metallics feel fresh and glamorous, perfect for both casual and evening wear. I think this is really interesting. I do agree that metallic and that like liquid looking fabric is in trend now and will continue to be in trend. I'm specifically thinking of those corsets that look like they're molded to the body with like the liquid touch to them. I don't know if that's exactly what AI is getting at here, but I definitely think that this will continue to grow in popularity, and I think that we'll be seeing it more often in street style. I also wonder if this is something that might pair with the previous point, which was elevated basics. I wonder if we'll start to see basic silhouettes in a more interesting fabric. The next one on the list would be sculptural accessories. The description here is jewelry and handbags with abstract, geometric, or nature-inspired shapes. I would have to agree. I think we've seen a really big boom in chunkier jewelry, especially things that are out of like resin or plastic that have that kind of like organic feel to them. I think that this is something that we're seeing a lot of recently, and I think will continue into 2025. So obviously trend cycles go in like a circle. So things that were popular 15, 20 years ago, we'll probably see back again in some way, shape, or form. Never the exact same, but like an iteration on it. And I think that with jewelry, we kind of did go through the whole cycle. So like in the early 2000s, we had those big like bubble necklaces and everything was very statement jewelry. We like layered bangles. We had big statement earrings, and we just like really went all out in the accessories department. And then for a while, we swung the other direction where we had dainty little jewelry. We had like barely there gold chains, and just like the littlest touch of jewelry was like what was in trend. And I think now we're seeing that swing back around again with the bag charms. I think that they're coming back into trend. And so I think that this AI prediction is actually kind of on point. I saw that Tiffany's actually has a collection out right now that's a collaboration with Elsa Peretti that is like their bone collection. And they have bangles and rings that I love so much. And I think that this is kind of what I'm getting at, where it's like, it's more of a statement. It's in kind of a natural form, but it's definitely not dainty. So I would have to agree with this one. I think that having statement jewelry that has a nature-inspired design is something that we'll see a lot more of. The next thing that AI says will trend is eco fabrics, which I think is really interesting because they just said that high shine and metallic fabrics would be in. So what is the truth, Ellen?
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen.
So their description says sustainable materials, including recycled textiles, plant-based fabrics, and biodegradable innovations. They say consumers demand ethical fashion and brands are responding with stylish, eco-conscious designs. Sustainability is no longer a trend, it's essential. Yeah, I would have to agree with this. I think I would agree with this more than I would agree with like the metallic fabrics. I'm interested in that one from like a styling perspective, but I'm more in agreement with this one in particular that like we're all becoming a lot more aware of what fabrics our clothes are made out of. And I think that looking at the tag and having it say 100% polyester is like just really not going to fly anymore, at least on my corner of the internet. I'm sure there are still tons of people out there who don't care and don't look at the material tag and just wear whatever, and they don't even really notice that wearing all polyester makes them feel horrible. But at least for me, and I think for a lot of you, if you're watching this, I would assume you're a little bit more invested in the clothes that you buy and the clothes that you wear. And I would have to agree that there's a rising concern with ethical and sustainable fabric choices. People are starting to understand that wearing an outfit that's made out of plastic will make you feel like you're wearing a plastic bag, you know, like you're going to get sweatier, you're going to be hotter, you're going to have a harder time regulating your temperature, you're going to be itchier. It might actually like aggravate your skin a little bit, you know, if you're sensitive to that kind of thing. So I really do think that like linens and wools and cottons are going to be more involved in like our fashion. I'm not sure if this is really going to be like a visual trend, but I think that in terms of like our standards for what we'll purchase, I think that it's going to be really important for brands to include these like eco-conscious fabrics in their options. So the next one is playful layering, and I think ChatGPT knows me way too well because I would 100% agree that playful layering is going to be a big, big trend in 2025. Mixing sheer, textured, or patterned layers to create visually dynamic outfits. They say, as people experiment with fashion, layering allows for versatility and creativity while remaining practical in fluctuating weather. I didn't really think of the weather portion of it being a reason why, but I just think that layering in general is becoming more of a trend. I feel like as we move away from that like sad beige and like minimalist ideology of everybody thinking that like a capsule wardrobe is the best way to go, I think people are kind of swinging in another direction where it's like, no, more is more, and I want to wear as many beautiful pieces as I can at one time. At least that's the boat that I'm in. So I'm happy to see that AI agrees. Okay, this next one I'm not so sure about. So they say that soft futurism will be trending. Let's see what they mean by that, because I'm confused. They say sleek silhouettes with futuristic elements like reflective fabrics, muted tones, and subtle tech iterations. So their reasoning for this says the tech world's influence on fashion is undeniable, but there's a demand for a more approachable, wearable take on futuristic aesthetics. So this is the second time now they've mentioned reflective fabrics, and I'm really curious about where this is coming from. At least on my end of the internet, I'm not seeing a ton of metallic fabrics, but I am very curious about seeing if this does kind of like rise to the surface, and I'm just like not seeing it so much on my end of things. I don't know about this futuristic fashion. I feel like it's kind of in direct contrast with what we just talked about, which was a more sustainable fashion. I kind of think that people are getting to be a little bit more cynical of like how quickly tech moves and how quickly the trends move. And I think that integrating technology into our fashion will just create obsolescence even faster. And I think that that's something that we're kind of moving away from. So I don't know if I agree with this one. The only example that I can really think is like those glasses. Like I know Meta put out those like the headset, and I know a while ago Snapchat tried to do like snap glasses. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that's what they mean by this, but I don't think that that's fashion per se. I think that that's technology, and eventually I think that it will become fashion, but I don't know if we're there yet, and I don't think I agree with this one. Let me know if I'm like totally misunderstanding what this one is like getting at, but I don't know if I agree. All right, the next trend prediction is retro footwear. They say chunky loafers, square toe boots, and platform shoes inspired by the 70s and 90s. I think this is going to be really accurate, and I will take it further than just footwear. I think that the 70s and the 90s, which we've seen the 90s, but I think the 70s especially, are going to be a big influence in terms of the things that we start to see again. I'm going to dive into this a little bit more in a future video where I'll talk about like how the state of the world will impact fashion. So I'll get into this a lot more then, but I agree with this trend prediction that we're going to be seeing 70s fashion, not just in footwear, but in other aspects of fashion as well. So more to come from me on that, but I would have to totally agree that 70s inspired footwear and just fashion in general will be trending. So next up, they say deconstructed pieces will trend. Items featuring raw hems, patchwork, or cutouts that emphasize an imperfect DIY aesthetic. They say that this reflects a growing rejection of fast fashion and a desire for individuality. Deconstructed looks celebrate uniqueness and sustainability. I'm going to have to hardly disagree with this one, and you know why? I don't disagree that this will trend, but I don't think it has to do with sustainability or an emphasis on DIY. I think it has to do with fast fashion companies being really cheap. If they can create a trend around a raw hem, then that means they don't have to finish their hems anymore. If they can create a style aesthetic that emphasizes imperfections and making it look like you did it yourself, then they don't have to focus on perfection and, you know, giving us quality garments. So while I agree that maybe we'll see this continue to rise, I don't necessarily think that it's because people are starting to make their own clothes and that that's part of the trends. While I hope that that's the case, and I know I love to make my own clothes, I personally think that we might see a rise in this more because fast fashion conglomerates don't want to put in the same kind of effort and quality into their clothes that would be necessary if, let's say, high polish, very structured garments were trending. So while I really hope that people start making their own clothes and that kind of becomes something that trends and people can feel really good about being like, yeah, you know, this is made with love, not with perfection. That would be so great and awesome. But I do kind of think that this trend, if it does come to fruition, will be more of a cash grab on the fast fashion companies' end of things. And the last trend prediction from AI is whimsical revival. And you know that I love the whimsy goth aesthetic, so I am all on board for this. Their description says, a romantic, mystical style blending lace, velvet, corsets, and celestial motifs. They say, with the popularity of gothic and magical media, this trend combines fantasy escapism with vintage-inspired romanticism, making it both nostalgic and modern. I agree. I think that's a really good description of the kind of fashion that I personally love, and I think is beginning to trend more and more. I also think that leaning into a more whimsical aesthetic is a form of escapism, and with the way that the world currently is, I think that everybody's looking for a little bit more escapism. It's another thing that I'll talk about in my upcoming video, so definitely stay tuned for that one. But yes, I will agree with this one, and I think it kind of plays into that layering thing that we talked about before, and with the sustainable fabrics thing that we talked about before. So I agree 100% that whimsical fashion will be something that we'll see a lot more of, and I'm very excited for it. And with that, those are 10 predictions for 2025 fashion trends that I got from AI. You know, I'm pleasantly surprised with AI that I think I agree with most of the things that they said. It's a little scary, but very interesting. So let me know, do you agree with some of these fashion trends? I know some of them were kind of contradictory to one another. So I'm very curious to see, maybe this time next year, we'll like reflect and see what they got right, what they got wrong. Yeah, very interesting. So thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of the video. I truly appreciate it. Also, happy holidays. I know that we're like coming up to the holiday season, and I really hope that everybody is enjoying their time. I know that this season can be kind of hard for some people, so if you are somebody who doesn't really love the holiday season, hopefully you're finding some way to take care of yourself and make yourself feel good during this time. Yeah, so I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.